You're listening to the Speaking Tongues podcast. I'm your host, El Charisse. Each week, I sit down to a conversation with multilinguals where we discuss and celebrate language, life, and culture through our own perspectives. Episode 101, Speaking Tamil. Hello, language lovers. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Speaking Tongues, the podcast and conversation with multilinguals. This week, we're talking about Tamil with Aysha from Tamil for Kids. In this episode, we talk about Tamil as it's spoken in Singapore, where Aysha's from, and in Tamil Nadu in India. We talk about similarities between Malayalam and Tamil and how, through films and pop culture, she's been able to understand and communicate in basic Hindi. We discuss formal and spoken Tamil and the ways in which they differ, and the Tamil grammar and alphabet, including borrowings from Sanskrit. Now, there's also a moment here where Aysha is reading something that I'm holding up that's written in Tamil, and if you want to see what we're talking about, you can see images of it on my social media or on my website just to follow along. Aysha and I talk about how clothing plays a part in strengthening familial bonds and linking generations, multilingualism in India, and she tells us about how she's helping kids to learn Tamil in Singapore and beyond with Tamil for Kids. Big thank you to Aysha for this fun conversation full of Tamil language, culture, and laughs. If you enjoy episodes of Speaking Tongues, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the Speaking Tongues podcast on Apple Podcasts, and like and subscribe on YouTube so that other language lovers like ourselves can find the show. And if you've been a long-time listener of the show or even a recent listener, you can now support the show on buymeacoffee.com, and Patreon extras are now available also. Links to all platforms are in the show notes. Okay, let's chat. Welcome back to another episode of Speaking Tongues. I'm here today with Aysha. How are you today, Aysha?
Hi, Elle. I'm good. Thank you. How about you?
I'm fantastic. I'm so happy to talk to you today. And I know we're going to have a great conversation because I have a lot to learn.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on today.
So we're going to be talking about Tamil, and I like to start each episode with the same question, and that is, what is your first language and which languages have you learned to speak?
Okay, so Tamil is my mother tongue. However, I do consider both Tamil and English to be my first languages, mainly because Singapore does have 4 national languages, out of which 2 of them are English and Tamil. So for me, if you ask me I don't exactly get to choose a first language and a second. So to me, both of them are like my first languages. Although, in school, Tamil was the second language.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
In Singapore, is it common for people to have 2?
Yes, because we are in general a multiracial, multi-ethnic society. So we have English, Malay, Tamil, and Chinese as our national languages. So you typically will have everyone learn English as well as what their mother tongue is as a second language. This goes on in schools all the way from first till the grade 10 or 12, depending on how advanced level that you took your mother tongue in.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're asking what other languages I've learned. So being in Singapore, I have definitely picked up a lot of basic Malay language. I can understand a little Chinese, but my Chinese is getting rusty. And I do know how to speak a little Hindi, thanks to watching Hindi movies with subtitles in the bottom.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So you said that you can understand a little Hindi from watching movies. So is there any similarity like between Tamil and Hindi?
No.
And that, okay.
Not at all. Not at all. Tamil has a lot of similarities to Malayalam, but there's like practically nothing. There's very, very few similarities, if at all, between Tamil and Hindi. But we do have a significant Hindi population. So our local channel used to play Hindi movies with subtitles almost every week. And that grew into that kind of piqued my interest when I was a kid. And as I grew older, you have your Netflix, your Amazon Prime, and, Hindi Bollywood actors are famous. Their Bollywood songs are famous. So, I started kind of picking up the main parts of the language just by hearing it and reading the subtitles at the same time, and over time, and I have like ran into Hindi people here and there as friends or colleagues or like people you network with, etc. So I'm not fluent, nowhere near fluent, but I could make broken sentences to find my way around, and like basic stuffs. And I could like kind of at least by context understand what they're talking about. So that's kind of a cool thing.
That is really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
I think that I'm so grateful to the Bollywood industry because, I mean, not grateful to them, but like I think it's really cool that like it's so big and it's so like all over the world. Like even me, when I had a phase when I was really into Bollywood movies. This is like
definitely.
the
Their
late
beats
90s.
are so catchy. You can't put it down. They have like very fast beats, and even if you look at their dances, it's very lively. Like even the Tamil in film industry, that I think media, like movies in general, are really one of the best, most simple and stress-free way to pass around a language.
Yeah, so stress-free.
Yeah,
Especially
definitely.
when the movies are, especially like Indian movies, whatever language they're in, they're so entertaining. They're so
and so
lively,
colorful.
so colorful. Oh my God. And the clothes. Oh,
Yes.
I love it. I love it. And it's one of those things for me where like I try not to be one of like I don't want to appropriate anybody's culture, but I just want to appreciate it. And I just like
No, I think that's very welcoming. Like if I see someone who's not Indian wear a sari, I would be really, really proud. Like I somehow don't relate to the concept of appropriation. I'm sure maybe it's just I've not been exposed to that level of people taking on, but it actually makes me smile and so happy when I see someone of a different ethnicity like try on our attire, or like want to try Indian food, or even just try to speak a word or two to me. I'm like, wow, because to me that feels like they are making an effort to learn and appreciate something that they don't do in a daily basis. That's the way, I mean, maybe that's the way I grew up seeing it. I don't know. But I kind of look at it more that way, like, you are not just sticking to what you are, but you are making an effort to learn and or appreciate, whichever way it is. Like some people, they want to learn, but some people are doing it merely just for the appreciation or just to show me, hey, I like what you have out there. I really enjoy that. Like I'll be like, yay, there's somebody out there doing it. Not what do you think you're doing wearing my stuff? No, it's not mine to begin with. It's like we share it with the globe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to hear that, because if I could wear a sari, I would wear a sari all the time.
You would look gorgeous. You look gorgeous. And by the way, nowadays they do have this like simple, easy to wear sari. So you do not have to take that entire 7 yards and drape it by yourself and things like that. Like it's literally like a skirt pin on, and you just pull it over your shoulders after that. So you might want to look into that.
I think I will. I think I will. Man, they're so beautiful, and
they are.
There's
a certain elegance to it.
They're so elegant. That's what I love. That's what I love about it, because even in, I've seen women even like running errands and doing casual things, and they're wearing them like these beautiful, obviously not like, for weddings
brand
or like
ones.
anything ornate, but like even it's like, I feel like if I would run down in like my sweatpants with a hole in it and like, just like completely the opposite of elegant. And then I see like a woman in sari and she's just like picking up groceries, or she's on the train.
Wow.
Oh man. I'm jealous.
There is a certain charm to it. I would give you that.
It is.
I mean, I'm actually glad to hear you see that in New York, actually.
Yeah, in New York, actually.
It's wonderful, yeah.
Yeah, and one thing that I mean, this is off topic, but I'm sorry. I know it's early for you, but one thing that I see commonly in New York, and it just makes my heart like so happy when I see like South Asian families. Obviously, I don't know where they're from, and I don't want to assume, but it'll be like the grandparents, then the parents, and then very small children. And the grandparents are usually, especially like the grandmother is usually like dressed and she's,
Yes,
and
yes.
they'll be like at the zoo or at the botanical
Oh,
gardens.
yeah,
And it's
because
just,
our ladies are still very shy to, like, especially the older ladies, like say,
yeah.
if you say grandparents, it probably means like my parents and my grandparents' generation. They are still, they're very traditional. So they're
Mm-hmm.
actually very hesitant to like swap to Western pants and shirts. It just makes them feel out of place. So I've
Yeah.
come to the point where I say, as long as you're not freezing, wear whatever's comfortable for you.
Yeah, I know. And I think it's really sweet to see, especially
Yeah.
when they're with like the grandchild who's wearing
Yeah,
like
it's so adorable.
those. It's so beautiful to see the
Yeah.
generations and to see them,
Definitely,
to see that
definitely,
family.
yeah,
I
yeah. That's the thing. Most of our culture really like family and culture. See, I don't really think you're off topic because family and culture really do have a lot of connections together. Like you want to maintain the culture, so your families maintain it, and your culture gives you ways that actually strengthens your familial bonds.
right.
Like, yeah, one thing, yes, of course, we are saying that the grandparents are wearing it for their comfort level, but they are also wearing it to show that youngest generation, especially, see, in New York, they are away from India, they are away from their homeland. They probably visit every year or maybe every few years once. They don't have that touch to that Indian cultural wear unless they see it often enough on their own family. Like you don't want them to detach it as something that only lives in Sunday school.
Right.
So watching their grandparents wear it, watching their moms and dads wear it, that is what is going to strengthen. So they are kind of interlinked. One is going to
Right.
strengthen the other. It all starts at home, literally
It
speaking.
does. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and for people who have migrated, that is their strongest and their best way to start ensuring that their culture, their language, their heritage passes on. It has, because they cannot, it's not like, okay, like in Singapore, we kind of, in a small way, we might take it for granted because it's everywhere in the community. We have a Tamil national radio station. We have a Tamil TV station. Schools conduct Tamil, so it's kind of blended into our life a lot more than it is for those in other countries where they have to sort their own ways to bring it in. And what is better, what is easier than just to, start it off at home and then, eventually in your small community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, you're not off topic. Yeah.
I want to talk about Tamil as it's spoken. And am I saying Tamil correctly?
Yes, actually, you're pronouncing it quite right. Like in English, we can say Tamil, but Tamil is actually the more authentic way. So you're pretty good there.
I'm close.
Yeah,
I'm close.
yeah, very close, very, very close. Yeah.
How have you noticed Tamil as it's spoken in Singapore, as it's how does it differ at all, if it does, than Tamil as it's spoken in southern India?
Okay, so southern India now. Tamil, there's spoken Tamil, and then there's the formal Tamil. So formal Tamil is what you learn in all academic basis, like whether it's at school or in literary material and things like that. That is pretty much the same everywhere. There is no different versions. But spoken Tamil kind of have their own, I want to use the word regional dialect. I'm not sure that's exactly right, but that's the easiest way I can describe it.
Okay.
In different parts of Tamil Nadu in itself. Like I remember you mentioned you seeing my Instagram post that said I probably speak Tamil in like 3 or 4 different ways.
Yeah.
So the spoken Tamil like from the sector of Tamil Nadu I'm from, which is Nagapattinam, it's all the same words but just pronounced it in a different form, and compared to those that they speak in a main town Chennai.
Okay.
Now the one in Singapore is very alike the one in Chennai in most ways. Of course, we being our multilingual people, we will add in some English, we'll add in some Chinese, we'll add in a little Malay.
That's so cool.
But it's predominantly Tamil. Yeah, so like in a sentence, you might probably hear a Malay word out of nowhere, or you'll find one Chinese word out of nowhere. But that's, I guess, the Singaporean influence in that. But the spoken Tamil wise, like it's not that it's difficult to understand the different forms. 99% of them we will know what they're talking about. There might be a certain word you're like, I'm sorry, what's that again? And then they'll translate, oh yes, I know that. We might just say it slightly differently, But even within Tamil Nadu, you will hear varied ways the spoken Tamil in itself is being spoken, because it has influences from that district or like that zone in Tamil Nadu that they are at. kind of a thing. So yeah, it's actually quite fascinating to hear if you know all. Like for me, I grew up listening to all these versions because I'll hear the Chennai one, and then like I have relatives from other parts of Tamil Nadu, and then my own ancestors who come from Nagapattinam. Although we moved to Singapore in the early, like my family moved in the early 70s, but we still have a strong touch. So I kind of grew up hearing all this. I can navigate through them really well.
Yeah.
But for those who are new at it, they might be like, okay, why does it sound different from sector A to sector B? It just sounds different, but there's not a lot of comprehension issues. I don't think it's to that point. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess like you said, in Singapore, there's a lot more language mixing just because.
Yes. I mean, even like in the main cities in Tamil Nadu, they tend to mix a little English here and there when you're casually speaking. See, it's like I said, that's why the formal Tamil is like pretty standard everywhere, because that is academic, that has the level of formalness involved in it. This is casual. This is like every day. This is like, part of you, part of life, part like you go to the shop, you hang out with a friend. So there's no rigidness to it, per se.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that. I love to understand and try to understand, I should say, like how a language changes,
I know it is fascinating if you look at it over time.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Let's talk about the language itself. Can you tell us a bit about the structure of Tamil and some of the hallmarks of it? Like, if we hear someone speaking, and like, how can we instantly know that they're speaking Tamil? Is it tonal? Is it agglutinative? How do we form sentences? What's the grammar structure? All that good stuff.
Okay, so the Tamil language in itself has 247 letters. So it has, not that tough. I'll break it down. So there are 12 vowels, 18 consonants, and another whole series of letters that are a combination of these 12 and 18. And there is one letter, we call it the Aida Elthu, but like the Aida letter, but I'm not really sure it's like a distinct individual letter. Okay. So total, that's 247. So, and we do borrow some letters from the Sanskrit word lettering system, like Ja, Ha, Sha. Like my name is Aysha, so the Sha is actually a Sanskrit letter.
Okay.
In my name.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do have some letters that come from there, but the 247 are the main Tamil letters. So, and yes, it is agglutinative. Okay, I never know how to pronounce that. And the sentences are subject, object, verb, as opposed to English.
Okay.
So we say he went to school, that will be Avan Pallikku Sendran, where Palli is the school and Sendran is went.
Okay.
Yeah. And in formal Tamil is very distinct whether it's male or female or someone of respect position per se, like someone older than you, regardless of male or female. So since I said Sendran, that's for he. So if it's a she, it will be Sendral. Now, if it's a he or a she who is older, like say your parents. So you say like my mom went to the store, you will say Sendrar.
Sendrar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if it ends with a ir, it's like someone of a respect position, whether it's older than you or your boss or some, basically. So that the language has that whole respect aspect in there to differentiate it. Even in colloquial Tamil, like in colloquial Tamil, say come here will be like va. So that's for colloquial for anyone. Like if you want to say it with a respect, like an elderly coming, you say vanga.
Vanga. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Colloquial Tamil doesn't always, it does have the male female aspect to it, but once it comes to the respect, they kind of go generic in that.
Okay.
Yeah. So how do you know that is exactly Tamil? I'm not really sure. I guess you must be exposed to it. I mean, you will definitely know it's Indian because people know that tone to the Indian language. And I guess you should have, I think the only way they really, really know is if they've heard it somewhere else, because it's probably easy to mix it up a little bit, at least with Malayalam and like, I don't think Telugu, but probably, no, they might at least consider it's from that sector of the Indian languages or something.
Okay. So if we were assuming that, we're listening to someone and we're guessing either Telugu, Malayalam, or Tamil.
actually more Malayalam or Tamil. I don't think Telugu is that difficult, that similar, so similar that you will mistake one for the other. Yeah.
Okay. So if we're down to two guesses now, it's either Tamil or Malayalam.
Okay.
What would it be about Tamil that would make us say, oh, it's not Malayalam?
I mean, for me, I would know the difference because I've heard both. But honestly, from a point of view of someone who has not been exposed to either language, I really am not sure. But to tell you something about the similarities between Tamil and Malayalam, I've actually had this happen to me once where I met an old neighbor whose mom flew in from Kerala. That's where they speak Malayalam.
Mm-hmm.
And we were so basically, I was being nice. I was like, saying hi, auntie, and I introduced myself. And I realized she spoke zilch English. But somehow, when I started talking to her in Tamil, she responded back in Malayalam, and we both understood each other, and we were conversing in two different languages. It is so similar that I could make out most of it. Like I could say easily 90% of it, and then a little bit and then that my neighbor walked by, she's like, how are you talking to my mom? I'm like, hey, it's working. I don't know how this is working. It's just, I was rather young back then, so I was like, I don't know, it's working. I was mind blown. I was like, okay, this is working. I do not know how this is working, but it's
that's so cool though.
That's exactly. I think it's like Malayalam and Tamil have many similarities to the point that you can actually if you are well versed in either language, you can contextually pick it up. Yeah, but I guess it's because like she is well versed in hers, and she has heard Tamil along the way, and I'm well versed and I have heard Malayalam along the way.
Yeah,
so yeah, I found that was like totally mind blowing.
I think that's really, really amazing.
Yeah,
I think that's really amazing.
I don't think you can do that with many other languages.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually wondering, like, maybe you could do it with like Dutch and Afrikaans.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you could do it with like German and Dutch.
I don't know either languages at all.
Maybe Spanish and Portuguese.
Maybe that sounds possible. Maybe, yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thing.
I'm telling you, I think Indian languages are so fascinating because there's so many.
Yes.
And it's like, so I feel like, well, you tell me, but I feel like so many people in India have exposure to so many, well, not necessarily in India, but people who are, I guess, of Indian heritage too.
Yeah, definitely. Because each state in India has its own language. We don't exactly have dialects per se. Each state has their own state language. And even within India, like multilingualism kind of came with those of Indian heritage from birth for most of us. I wouldn't say all, because say if you migrated and you really didn't have the opportunity, that's different. But like you at least know like 2 languages that are Indian based, and then on top of that you would know English. And that at least back in my days, I'm not sure about these days and age, but it used to be a total norm. Like knowing more than 2 languages, or at least being able to converse basically, I won't say fluent, but like how I know Hindi and I'm like very good in Tamil, to that level at least. Like being able to talk to the grocers or the courier guy or something, some basic sentences, or to find your way in a bus, or like to look for directions, like basic, your day-to-day needs. Knowing it in 2 languages is used to probably be a completely normal thing for most people. And then like if you're education, you also have English on top of that. Like we learn, even in India, they learn English from a very young age, just like how we do in most of the countries, so being because we are like, they are in a country where each state has their own languages, they always have a higher level of the higher need to be exposed to it one way or the other. Yeah, so I think that itself kind of ingrained a multilingual thing in most of us.
I think that's great. And like one thing that I always say on the show is like, I recognize that Indian, South Asian people are more exposed to bilingualism, and there's more opportunity for bilingualism. And I want that to be celebrated just as much as we celebrate Westerners, Europeans who go to school to learn all these languages. Like I don't want that erasure for, people of Southern Asian heritage to be ignored, because like you got these, people who speak like 5 languages.
Yeah, that's true.
and they're not getting degrees in all of these languages. Like
of course, of course.
You know,
But
it's
a lot
part of
of the
life.
school systems, definitely, I believe at least a lot of their school systems do at least include two, like there will be English and like maybe their state language or something like that as a minimum. A lot, and I'm not sure I'm accurate in this, but a lot of Indian schools do offer Hindi as well. So, you know, so there you go, 3 right there at school. And that's the other blessing about in Singapore, because I think one of the biggest blessings that Tamil families have at home right now is the fact that it is a part of the school curriculum. So it's something their child will be hearing almost on a daily basis in class. And school is where you spend the most of your time. You know, so the fact that it's part of the school system is really a big bonus when compared to those from countries where they have to sort their way. Like communities get together, have a Sunday school, have like someone who's good enough to teach them, gather these children and try to train them. It's very commendable, definitely. But I believe that not having that necessity for each and every family at home right now is one of the biggest blessings that we have, that actually is keeping the language alive amongst our community per se. Yeah, so that really makes a huge difference, having it as part of their childhood, you know.
It does.
They spend most of the time at school, so if it's a part of school, that is really one of the key elements that actually gives them a jump start.
Yeah. That's really important. I was going to ask you a question about the Tamil script. And a friend of mine went to Sri Lanka a couple of years ago and brought me back this towel.
Oh, yes.
Is this Tamil?
Yes. Sri Lankans and Indian Tamil speak exact Tamil. It's the same Tamil, but although the way Sri Lankans speak it actually is a lot closer to what I told you was formal Tamil. The way they speak it itself sounds very formal. But it's exactly the same. The letterings we use, the script you use, everything is the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
I tried to put this in, like, I took a picture to put it in the translation. And I was like, it wasn't coming up as anything. I was like, I have to ask Aysha what this
no. These are, so basically the first 2 rows are the vowels I told you about.
Okay.
The third row, the first letter, the one with the 3 dots, that's that either letter, that distinct one letter that I told you. And the rest of them are the rest of them, imagine them with dots on top of them. Now those are the consonants. So these letters are actually the consonant, like each of them are correlating the consonant plus the first vowel. That's exactly what this is. Yeah.
So this is, does it say something?
They're not words, they are just, no, it's just the letters. So it's A, I, U, E, I, O, Au, Ak, Ka, Nga, Sa, Nya, Da, Na, Ta, Na, Pa, Ma, Ya, Ra, La, Va. Okay, I don't know. Oh, that's supposed to be Ra, La, Ra, and then one other letter is missing. Yeah. So pretty much that's just the order of the letters in the Tamil alphabet, like a concise version.
Oh, that's so
they are
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love this, by the way. And my friend gave it to me.
Okay.
Because they went to Sri Lanka nice. A couple of years ago.
Okay.
And I was like, I wonder what this says. Like, I didn't know if it was like a poem or if it was like
it's the letters. It's just
something
the letters.
like that.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about the letters, and you know, there are so many of them. Yes. So how do they change? I mean, how are they, like, not how do they change?
So basically how they are formed, right? So you saw that. Okay, so in the thing you showed me, so you see that the letter I said ka, right? So the consonant is ik. So ik plus a is ka. So that's how the vowel and consonant combine to form that. So ik plus a, that's the longer one. That's ka.
Ka. Oh.
So ik plus e is ki.
Ik plus ki. Yeah. Ik plus e is ki.
Yeah, is plus e is ki. Yeah, but the whole thing is, that's what I say, most of the letters are just combinations of this. So it comes like a table. Yeah, so you just combine them. So it's like a grid form. and then the arc is just by itself. So that's how the 247 comes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So they're not like distinct on their own. They're actually combinations. So I guess that's what makes it easier, because once you see the connection, you can run it down through all the entire list of consonants.
Right.
Yeah.
For this might be a stupid question, but that's it is a lot of letters. Are we memorizing them all? Like how, I guess, like how we do ABCs?
So no, we don't. I don't believe we do that. We just like, okay, so we probably just learn. So when we teach at schools, they would start with the simple looking letters, like da. Da is just the one that went like one line down and one line to the right. So it looks like half a square.
This one.
Let me see. Yes, that's the one.
That one. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll start with letters like that, and pa that looks like just one more line up, etc. So long story short is, we will start with a few letters and we will show them how it connects, the vowels and consonants connect. So once they see that connection, and also once they associate words with it, it comes in together. So we do not have a A, B, C, D, E, F, G song per se. Now, maybe someone might have been creative enough to come up with it for just the vowels or just the consonants, but not all 247. No, I guess that'll just get confusing and out of the way. But we may also teach them to go through the entire row, like the entire combination of ik with all the vowels. So that we call it like an entire row. So we will teach them a little bit of we'll teach them the vowels, consonants, and the combination, or we will start with simple letters in the consonants and then bring up the vowels and then say, hey, you can combine them now. So we start with the easy letters just so it doesn't overwhelm them. And then slowly we'll cover the consonants. And then halfway we will add in, like, okay, we have vowels. And then we say, hey, you can connect these two and then add on to them.
Okay.
Yeah. So in schools, if you just strictly depend on the school, like by the end of the second grade, you will be exposed to all the letters. But as we expose them to the letters, we also add in the words. So they start really creating the connections right there. So we don't just teach the alphabets and then after everything is done, that we do the words. I think that's how they did it in my time. But like nowadays, it just makes more sense to the kids if you give them the words that go with it. So you start with simple words and expand as they learn more and more of the connected letters. And then finally, they are well-versed enough to be able to identify the letters. Yeah.
That reminds me, I don't know if it's like a one-to-one comparison, but I remember in my time, many years ago, we had to learn phonics in school.
Okay.
Do you remember that? Did you ever have to learn phonics? And then we learned like the long A, the short A, and the long O. And so we had to like learn the sounds and stuff. But like kids don't learn that anymore. They just learn like
just the letters.
They just learn the letters. So it like as you're describing it to me, it reminded me of that. Just kind of like learning how to make the sounds and how to connect the letters like that. And I think that makes sense. Like I think it makes sense to learn an alphabet and a language that way, because you know like how it's pronounced how it
exactly
works.
And I think the phonics aspect is, I don't know, at least this is like just came in my head right now, but like it might have been slightly easier in Tamil because you have the distinct letters that makes the sound longer or shorter. So it is based on which vowel is being attached to it. Yeah, so half of them have a longer sound and half of them have a shorter sound. So based on that, you tend to know whether you're going longer or shorter. So I guess that kind of blends in, I'm guessing. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, once they start like once they get through halfway, they kind of can piece it together. And since I guess because they're doing a word combination, they kind of strengthens it as they introduce more and more letters. So it's not like they're shoved with all 247 and made to memorize that line by line, and then they don't see the connection because they don't see it with words. Because I kind of feel like children these days, they learn better if they see the connection to where it's going.
Right.
I don't know, maybe it's because when we were growing up, we didn't ask questions. Like the questions they asked, I'm like, why didn't I ever ask this growing up? Because it didn't occur to us. We were not trained that way. But these kids are like
encouraged to keep quiet.
we were like, no questions. So you tell me to read the letters, I'll read the letters. You tell me words, I'll say words. But now they're like, okay, where are these letters going? I don't see it. So if you show them, you can help them see where it's going. They tend to catch up way faster. So, so the teaching methods have kind of developed to kind of cater to that change in our societies. Yeah, because I see this in young children and even teenagers. They're like, tell me where this is going. I'm like, I did ask when I was your age. Why are you asking me? So we kind of have to like, yeah, this is the direction that's going. And they go, and then they click right away and they understand everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Can you teach me something to say in Tamil? Like just something easy, something.
Okay, I don't know if this is
quick.
easy because I did come up with a tongue twister. So let's see. Let's try that. Okay. Karka.
Karka.
Kasadera.
Kasadera.
Karpavai.
Karvarpei.
Karpavai.
Karpave. Karpave.
Yes. Katrapin.
Katrapin.
Yes, good. Nilka.
Nilka.
Adarka.
Adelka.
Taga.
Taga.
Nice.
Okay.
So what you said was just one of the proverbs in Tamil. It's basically what it means is to say that you learn all that you need to and you have access to thoroughly without any errors, and you make sure to try and live by what you have learned as you go on. So that's the meaning of it.
I like that.
Yeah.
Usually we get to tongue twisters at the end of the episode. So
yeah.
How about this? Let's see how well I do the second time. Okay. We'll come back to it at the end and we'll try it.
Okay.
We'll try it the second time. I want to talk about culture, the Tamil culture. And let's talk about where we see it in Singapore, how it's expressed in Singapore, and what some of the influences that are present in the Tamil community in Singapore.
Okay, so Tamil families are one of the major I won't say major, like majority in Singapore. We are one of a significant percentage of the population in Singapore. So if you ask where it can be seen, I guess in festivities, we have plenty of, Hindu temples are there, Muslim mosques are there and everything, but we see it the most, you can say we see it in Little India, because it's basically concentrated with all the different Tamil shops and every necessity that you need, whether it's garments or groceries or your daily needs or restaurants, everything. So although they are sparsely also in other parts of Singapore, but you find them in the highest concentration in Little India, and you always find a lot of signages and announcements that are being like off in the bus interchange and in the train stations and everything. That also includes Tamil. So all our train stations have the names and any signages in all 4 languages.
Cool.
So you see Tamil pretty much most places that you go. And like I said, the kids have it at school from at least the 1st grade to the 12th grade. At least. And our colleges do offer Tamil as well. If I remember correctly. They did when I was going, at least. Yeah. But the thing is that it's everywhere. There are certain workspaces that we have organizations that are majority Tamil. So you probably hear more Tamil. Then you will hear Tamil as needed, like say when families gather or when even if workplaces, of course, if it's appropriate, like you're not going to be talking away in Tamil when there are other language people around, and you're not going to be rude. But as long as there is, it's appropriate and it's applicable, you probably hear it everywhere. Yeah, it's possible. Although I should say that the level that is being heard these days are kind of dwindling a little compared to when we were growing up, probably just because this English is just simpler. You hear English media is like a lot more higher now. English is everywhere, and things like that. I'm not saying like it's dying or anything like that, but it is lower than when I was a child.
Right.
Let's say that. It's still high, but it's kind of dwindling, which is why the major thing behind the birth of Tamil for kids was that to ensure that this dwindling thing takes a turn back up. Yeah.
So I guess you're seeing more in like the younger generations where they're mixing a lot more English and Tamil together.
Yes. Or they are like, gun shy to speak in Tamil when they're outside, unless they are only, they are more speak and things like that. And you're kind of seeing
Really?
issues like that. But like it's more like they're worried about making mistakes, or they are not. And then like if parents are working, you want to give an instruction, you don't want them to go, what are you saying? Or like trying to translate it. So they just quickly say it in English. We're having a very rushed lifestyle. So one of the things that got the impact was actually the bilingualism at home, not just for Indians. It's pretty much for most of the languages. We started noticing in the younger culture. This happened a while ago. So we sort of figure that as the adult generation, it's up to us to turn that table around.
Yeah.
So good news is over the last few years, we are seeing a huge improvement. And not just leaving it to the resigning to fate and say, it's going to die when it dies. No, we're not going to let you die. Our forefathers worked hard to see that this becomes something that we are even, dare I say, allowed to take for granted. So I'm not going to let you die, not on my watch.
I'm so glad that we have you to, to help that and to help, keep the language alive and keep it going for the next generation, because
yes, definitely.
It's important. Yeah.
It is.
In Singapore, so I'm wondering, because I find Singapore like really fascinating. And I think it's so interesting that there's, 4 different languages, and there's so much culture there, and there's so much of a mix. What do you think that Tamil or the Indian community in Singapore, like, what do they have that is like distinctly like that has come into their culture that maybe they got from like Malaysian, or maybe they got from like the Chinese that are there? Like, is there any like mix of like maybe in the food or in the music or in the
I think it will be in a little bit of everything. It's like how I said that when we speak Tamil, there will be one Malay word or one word thrown in. Like when we have our meals, there will be some dish that is, not entirely authentically Tamil. Like we have something called nasi biryani, which is like biryani that you hear in India, but we have our own touch to it. So nasi is rice in Malay. See, that's why I go with this.
Like nasi goreng.
Nasi goreng is fried rice. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So sometimes it's like, how to put it? Like you've never, like we are so built with it that there will be some differences. Like, you may not have that. We never have that. Oh, that is distinctly Tamil. That is distinctly Malay. That is distinctly Chinese. There will be some mix. Like in our food center, you have mixed all the different cuisines in one place, and everyone will mix and match and try. There's a dish called rojak that is basically, rojak just means things mixed up together. So that will have like sauces from this and food stuff from that and vegetables from here, and they all come together. So that is just who we are. So like in our festivities, I may go for a Deepavali gathering and find not just Indian sweets, that there will be something else, that there will be something maybe Malay or like, a Chinese dish or like nasi goreng or something, because for us, everything is everything. We're good. We're happy. You can feed us anything. We'll eat it. But the thing is that I believe that, we kind of intermingle for a lot of things, whether it's celebrating one another's festivities, like along with having 4 languages, we also have, because of our multi-ethnic, multiracial societies, we celebrate the major festivities of all the major religions. That we have Chinese New Year, we have Eid, we have Deepavali, we have Christmas, we have Good Friday, and the list goes on. We have a lot of public holidays. So the thing is that when we celebrate, it's like there will always be the different cultures will come together to celebrate. Like you will definitely have a blend, mixed group of friends or colleagues or something who come to each other. You will bring everything is being celebrated, everything is being commemorated together. It's not like you sit it's not like 4 segregations. It's like we are all in one. We appreciate our own differences, we respect one another for the differences. Like if a particular culture needs the space, we watch, we enjoy, and we watch, and we give them the respect and their place. But that's Singaporean. That is what being a Singaporean is all about. we appreciate, we celebrate, we respect ourselves, we respect the differences between one another, when we appreciate it and we live together. That is pretty much the whole ideal of being Singaporean.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. I have to visit Singapore.
Yes, I sure hope you come.
I have to visit Singapore. And I love that too, because it's like in New York, we have a lot of cultural celebrations.
Yes.
And, I remember even when I was a kid, like we didn't even celebrate like Lunar New Year. We didn't celebrate Ramadan or anything like that. But now in New York, like we mention it. Okay.
Oh,
It's
that's
Lunar New Year.
beautiful.
And you hear about it on the news. And I'm like, I wish I heard about that when I was a kid in the 80s. Like I wish
Better late than never, right?
Yeah, that's true. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that like
Yeah.
more people are noticing like all the different ethnic holidays.
That's because
that we have
technology has
here.
expanded the globe, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
without the internet, where would we be right now?
I don't even know if I want to think about that.
I know.
But I think it's so cool to see like cultures, especially like, there's that fusion there, because like we have a lot of different cultures here, but we don't really have a lot of fusion. Like, I guess if you want to consider like, Indian American, dishes but that's not really fusion. It's just more like a different palette. It's not
I guess,
really,
well, I guess the fusion probably comes from history, because the entire formation of Singapore was from these 4 communities coming in here to start their roots. So maybe the link is probably because it started away from there.
Yeah.
Because it's like that is how the country started, and we all do our best to maintain that. That's how the country is represented and lives by.
Yeah.
And that's how it's identified.
Well, visit Singapore, everybody.
Yeah. Yes, we welcome you. Now all the borders are opening.
Tell us about Tamil for Kids. How did you get started? And you talked a little bit about what your goals were with the platform, but let us know, what you do with Tamil for Kids, and most importantly, please tell us how we can find you on social media.
Okay, so Tamil for Kids is basically an online store and platform where my essential ideal goal is to make Tamil truly as easy as ABCs for our children. Like regardless of which part of the world you are in, although I do have a heavy focus on Singapore and Singaporean Tamil children, because I do tend to help them get towards being ready for their first grade Tamil lessons. However, these material are equally applicable regardless of where in the world that you are at. Like English comes to them rather easily because of all the cartoons and your Disney Plus and your Netflix. You have a lot of exposure, but without destroying your English learning abilities and skills, how do you bring on Tamil alongside with that? A lot of people, they get the idea that if they start teaching especially when they're abroad and all by themselves, if I start teaching my kid Tamil, their English learning abilities will be impacted and they'll suffer at school. Yeah. That is the biggest no myth. So my goal was to say, hey, you can learn and be bilingual or multilingual side by side. And the best time is really to do it when they are young children, because they absorb languages way better than a sponge at that age. So, so that's why my focus is primarily on like a pre-primary up to like lower primary children at this point. I may expand to like say entire primary as I go, but well, it's just cuter to start with the smaller children. I love the material. So right now, what started off as just a set of flashcards with AR technology and like a few wall posters. So I went on to designing more workbooks and other kind of learning medium that these children could easily use to learn Tamil, either bilingual mode with English or Tamil just as their own, depending on the material given. So the key is to have them learn by associating with something they already know. Like, the word in English, so I teach you what it is in Tamil. So a lot of the materials I came up with on our own under the brand name Tamil for Kids. I also have in curating fun storybooks that other authors have written. Most of authors from Singapore and India at the moment. So I do have a storybook collection that's growing, that is from local talents and like Indian Tamil talents, where they are coming up with these they're becoming authors, and they're trying to do their part. So I'm assisting them to spread the word as well. And Storybooks, I feel, are also another great way to introduce and make the language enticing for children, because it just brings it to life for them. It's a huge bonding thing that families can do. So we have also started doing that, and I do have a digital platform as well, where I'm starting to have interactive games where the children can kind of play around and try to like catch on and learn basic words and things like that.
How fun.
Yeah. So, hit the technology they like the flashcards, and the digital platform uses technology. Because the flashcards are basically, you scan it with an app and it says the word, and there's a AR technology, so the object plays around the screen and you can hear the word, see the word, as well as a digital platform where they're literally playing. I mean, screen time, and these days kids are like best friends, so make use of it, make use a little bit of it. And also come up with like simple workbooks that they find not overwhelming, but at the same time they enjoy doing it in their playtime. And they learn the few words as they go on. So that is pretty much what we do. You can find us at our website, www.tamil-for-kids.com, and on social media, Instagram and Facebook, we are with the handle Tamil for Kids.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. I will add those links into the show notes.
Sure,
I will add those links into the show notes for anyone who's looking for Tamil for their kids. Thank you so much for this conversation, Aysha.
This has been lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd like to end each episode on the same question. But even though we kind of hinted at what the answer was going to be earlier in the episode. So I would like to, instead of asking that question, I would just like to try that tongue twister again.
Okay. You want me to let me start it so you can repeat after me.
Yes, let's do it over.
All right. Karka.
Karka.
Kasadara.
Kasadara.
Karpavei.
Karpavei.
Kachapin.
Kachapin.
Nirka.
Nirka.
Adarku.
Aderka.
Taga.
Taga.
Nicely done. Yay.
I'm going to have to try and work on it so I can say it faster and faster and faster and faster.
Oh, you don't have to say it faster. Yeah, you don't have to say it faster, because as a proverb, it kind of comes in that pace. So actually you're good.
Okay. Well, yeah. Perfect. We did it.
Yes.
My first Tamil. Proverb.
Yes.
So exciting. So exciting.
Nice. Okay. And it is about learning, which I think you are really excellent at sharing with everyone. So that's kind of one of the reasons I thought this would be perfect for you.
That's perfect. And I'd never pass up an opportunity to learn something new.
Yeah, that's something I realized from your podcast, because as someone who is willing to explore this many languages, you have to be willing to learn.
Yes. It'd be very willing to learn, willing to make mistakes, and willing to sound foolish. That is something I'm getting very comfortable with.
I don't think there's anything that's sounding foolish, because it's different. You got to embrace that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people struggle though, because like, I mean, I know I did, like feeling like, oh, people who speak natively, they're going to think I'm stupid. They're going to think, and that's a very hard thing to get over. And just,
it is.
Just be willing to make the mistakes, because
you're worried about being laughed at,
Exactly. Which is probably why I think kids have an easier time, because they're not as self-conscious as we are.
Yes. Although these days their self-consciousness is coming early on. Gotta watch it.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that either. But hey, their world is opening up sooner than ours did. So
yeah.
So that's something that, as growing adults, especially if you have children in your influence, you have to keep an eye on, or like at least assure them that it's okay, because a lot of them want things to be perfect from the get-go, which could be one of the reasons that, like I was saying, like bilingualism was starting to dwindle. Could be that's where it all started. That's one of the things that we were talking about when we gather in our groups. You're like, what is it that's like, how is it that we had it so natural, and what is this that is changing? You got to know what's changing to know what to fix, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So one of the things is to encourage that it's okay if mistakes happen, definitely when it's early on, because it can be fixed and you can get better.
Yeah.
The perfect thing is not there. It's more about the progress that you've been making.
Of course. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for this wonderful conversation.
Thank you, Alice. Very lovely talking to you.
Likewise. Before I let you go, really quickly, in
Mhm,
Singapore,
mhm,
in Tamil, if
mhm,
you are, after you've been talking to someone for quite a while
mhm.
and you're about to go your separate ways, what is the best way to say goodbye?
You can just say Nandri Vanakkam. So that's basically like thank you and greetings to say bye. Yeah.
Nan
So Nandri
Nandri
Vanakkam.
Vanakkam.
Yes.
Nandri Vanakkam.
Yes.
Aisha.
Nandri Vanakkam. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and I will be talking to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.